Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brits, round one, good, bad, and ugly. And I can't believe some of the shit that went down last night. That's all I know.
Yeah, like in a draft, like where being the Brit, that means I'm in the UK, by the way, everybody. So I was up till 5:30 in the morning. The sun was coming up when I went to bed last night.
Yeah,
And
it
it
was brutal for you.
actually turned out to be kind of worth it, all the way down to 32, with the final act being a trade from the Carolina Panthers coming in at 32 and trading. So actually was worth staying up for. Very exciting draft, and a few crazy picks, a few good picks, some bad picks, and one ugly pick.
Yeah, and it's not the pick, right? It's the situation.
Yeah.
So we are going to do our good, bad, and ugly. Maddie, let's just start out because there's a couple things we'll need to talk about at the end, six quarterbacks going, that kind of thing. But let's just start out with the good, bad, and the ugly. And I'll start out with my good. I'm a homer. Minnesota gets JJ McCarthy, which I wanted. You know how much I wanted JJ McCarthy in this draft. Didn't have to give up the farm to do it and then move back up from their 23rd pick to arguably take the best defensive player in the draft. Some people had other people, but arguably the best defensive player in the draft at 17.
Yeah, so basically the Vikings walk away with who I think is the fourth best quarterback in the draft in an astonishingly good quarterback year. I've got Penix rated above JJ McCarthy for his big arm talent.
I had JJ3 and I had Penix and Williams tied for fourth. So
right, okay. So yeah, but but in an astonishingly good draft class. That's really important to say. Like everybody's like, oh, he's the fourth quarterback, he's the fifth quarterback off the board. But yeah, in this year, you get the quarterbacks who are coming out late. So you get three quarterbacks who are coming out a bit late, and you get the three quarterbacks who normally come out every single year, right? So it makes sense to me for there to be that many quarterbacks.
Let me
but
ask
they come
you
away
this
with
quick. What quarterback do you think is in the best position to succeed?
For me, it's JJ McCarthy. Or
Me too.
It's Caleb Williams on paper, but I don't trust the Bears organization.
Well, and then you have a defensive coach again, and we've been through this. You have this carousel. Look what happened to Josh Allen. Brian Daboll, you're great. Oh, Brian Daboll's gone. We suck balls.
Yeah. Like I feel like they've learned from the Justin Fields experience, but I don't trust the Bears until they show me that they've learned from the Justin Fields experience, right? So arguably Caleb Williams, probably JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy is going to look like the best quarterback in this draft, whether he is talent based, but that's not what the Vikings really needed, right? Like arguably JJ McCarthy is a younger, cheaper Kirk Cousins who can move around a bit more.
Yeah, he's a lot more athletic, right? Yeah. So the argument is nobody would ever argue that Kirk can read a defense. Kirk can play from the pocket within a system. Yeah. Kirk is super accurate. It was, can he play outside of the play because he has no athleticism, right? JJ McCarthy looks like he's all that plus the athleticism. So, like, I'm excited. And JJ McCarthy's superpower in the college was third down.
Yeah, and he's a winner, right? You get that from him. I saw comps from him being Alex Smith, and do you know what? The Vikings with Alex Smith isn't necessarily a terrible thing.
Comping him to Alex Smith,
considering he can run.
Do you remember my comparison before the draft? Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think he's a little more steady than Aaron Rodgers, but stylistically, I'd say like Aaron Rodgers is a good stylistic choice. Look, I think JJ McCarthy's a good pick there. What's the best thing about getting JJ McCarthy there is that the Patriots rejected them to go up and get Drake May. That's the best thing about getting JJ McCarthy there. So the Patriots saved the Vikings from moving up, probably giving up 3 first-round picks to go take Drake May, right? Which means they got to keep it, and then they could get aggressive. People are a bit upset about the aggression of going and getting Dallas Turner. I like the aggression at that point. Like when you're in the position of the Minnesota Vikings, where okay, let's see if the quarterback room is sorted. You've obviously got Sam Darnold there as well. Let's see how the quarterback room fixes itself. Now the defensive line is missing a couple of pieces, but with Brian Flores there, get aggressive and go get your guy. Like, I don't mind being aggressive to fill. Like, everybody, I thought that the Will Anderson pick from the Texans was a stupid decision last year. And
yeah, we disagreed.
The decision. So actually, I'm okay with this level of aggression.
Oh, so a few Vikings fans on the groups, majority are super excited, but a few, they gave up too much. And then they're talking about how, well, you gave up 2 firsts to get that, or 2 seconds to get that first, and then you gave up more to move up. And then Kwesi came out and had an interview yesterday. I think if people would listen to what Kwesi said, they would understand the pick a whole lot more too, because he was asked about being aggressive, moving up, using picks like that. And he said, well, you got to look at it. There's a lot of different things. One, he was one of our top players on the board, period. So we got a chance to go get him. We're going to go get him because there's no way we thought that talented player is there and we have a chance to get him. 2, we have a ton of cap room next year. We can move with the cap. And he said something. The third thing is what got me to go, oh. And he said, 3, we don't have that many spots open on our roster. He goes, we have a lot of good young players. We don't have a roster that needs 10, 12 draft picks to fill out this team. And I was like, that's playing a game that I wasn't even thinking about, which makes total sense. Is we don't need a ton of guys because of where we at. We need the right guys is what I took from it, right? Like when you're New England, you need a ton. And when you're the Minnesota, you need the right guys. I was like, oh, that is so thinking that never even crossed my mind.
Yeah, I mean, with the Vikings have so few, there's like a few teams out there that it just makes sense to, like the Chiefs, for example, like they saw the guy that they wanted. Now, Xavier Worthy, I think, is definitely a good player to go get, but they can give up whatever fucking picks they want. Like they're not filling their roster out with 3rd, 4th round guys because they've already done it. Like they've already gone through that point. Kwesi has played that patience game, slow build game, drop back, like that kind of the kind of irritating thing for Vikings fans for a long time is the building up of the picks. This is what that building up of the picks allows you to do. Like it's like, you know, I've been getting really into finance shows recently. Like I'm 26, need to start learning how to do personal finances, right? So I've been watching a few Dave Ramsey things, and whatever you think of Dave Ramsey, whatever, he's an interesting guy to watch his shows and that kind of stuff. And he gets these people on who followed his baby steps, have got all of their money, and then don't know how to fucking spend it when they turn 65. Like they get their money, they've got their savings, they don't know how to spend it. That's the situation that the Vikings are in right now. Like Vikings fans are so used to having to be stingy with their picks and drop back and be dead stingy. You've made your savings, you've put it in a high interest fund, and now you're allowed to spend it and go make that pick, right?
And using your analogy, so we had 3 first, 3rd round picks next year. People were upset that we gave up a 3rd to move up, right? But this is just the Vikings spending that extra before retirement, right? Like because they know we got extra, and then people are like, we don't have a 2nd next year. Calm down. We have 2/3 when we got to keep our 1st. Like we still have 8 draft picks going into a draft where most teams have 7, right? Like, so I was so excited that they didn't have to move. You know me, I was sending you memes of me sweating, like, you know, sweating memes. And then I blew you up with like 8 fucking JJ memes.
JJ McCarthy as soon as he went through. Yeah.
I hit him so fast, I doubled some of them and had to unsend them. Like
it was, it was the ideal situation. I remember sending you tagging you in Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft before the actual draft where I had JJ McCarthy going at 11, right? And you said, yeah, I wish. Well, that actually, all right, they had to move up to 10, but that must have been the Raiders. Yeah, that must have been the Raiders trying to get in, right?
Kwesi will never give up everything like that he talks about, but he gave a little, which is more than what he does. And they said, when you talk to the Jets, was there other teams moving up? And he goes, I don't usually talk about what there is. He goes, I won't tell you who, but yes, there was another team trying to move up to 10. So
yeah, it had to be the Raiders or the Seahawks, right? At that point.
or Denver, maybe, because they were 12.
I think Denver like Bo Nix, but yeah.
I think that was
Denver,
actually, if Bo Nix, this is a whole different conversation, but Bo Nix going in the first round went to the right place for Bo Nix to go into the first round.
Yeah.
So honorable mention for my good would have been the Chiefs. You already hit on why. The Vikings were my good. Who is your good for the draft?
Basically, anybody apart from one team who picked a defensive player in the draft is my good. Because of, like, what was it? We got 14 in a row. Like 14
who was
14 offensive players in a row.
Or is that your bad?
That's my bad.
Okay, well, wait.
Is the one. So I'm gonna leave the bad. Yeah. But basically, anybody who took a defensive player, apart from one team who is my bad, who took a defensive player in the draft because it was a smart decision. It was like when the Cowboys were able to pick up Micah Parsons at pick 10 because nobody else is arguably Micah Parsons is the best player in that draft, right? But it didn't fit anybody else's needs. So teams like the Eagles, who came away with Kenyon Mitchell, like top cornerback, not pissed about it at all, obviously, top cornerback off the board. Teams like that. Jared Verse going to the Rams at 19. That's crazy. Leitu Liatu going to the Colts at 15. Like that guy, if you're okay with his neck injury, which everybody seems to be totally fine with his neck injury, he's a top 10 talent. Dallas Turner, obviously, that we've just spoke about, like a great player. You're getting the Byron Murphy going to the Seahawks at 16 is crazy. Like there's all these names of defensive players that you go, all right, yeah, that makes sense. Like the Lions picking up Teron Arnold from Alabama, like that's a great pickup. Like I think they did a great job.
Yeah, I think that it was wild to watch it go down. I mean, we knew there was going to be a lot of offensive players taken, but the way like it just played out that nobody veered off that offensive trail in the beginning where we all thought the first defensive players coming off the board at 8. We'll get into that later, right? So it just the way it went. And I think that actually saved all these players. So if the first one goes off at 8, we probably see defensive players go earlier because guys are like, oh, fuck, some defense. But because of the way it played out, teams were like, hold, yeah. And then go, right? Like that.
You wait for the first guy, right?
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, you wait for the first guy, and if you're happy with 2 guys in the same position, you wait for the first guy to go, and then you make your move to go get the second.
And if you need defense and not a set position, you probably have 5 to 7 guys you're good with. So, like if you need a corner and defensive line help, you're probably good with 7 guys at that point. And all of a sudden you're looking and going, dude, guys I thought were going to go way before we picked are still there. It was wild. Now, we expected more trades in the beginning than what happened or we talked about, and it's the most NFL thing to talk about, tons of trades happening and then them not happening. Because at one point, the only 2 trades in the draft were the Vikings, at one point. But then we had some more trades. Very cool with the way the draft went down, very exciting. And I like your pick of just anybody who picked defense, except I still can't click in my head, so I'm waiting to hear.
Let's go. Maybe there might be 2 teams. So Darius Robinson for the Arizona Cardinals at defensive end. I'm not entirely sure that was the right pick for the Cardinals, but I'm kind of okay with it. Nate Wiggins at cornerback for the Baltimore Ravens and not taking Cooper DeJean, I think, is a bad pick. I think that is a bad pick for them. Nate Wiggins, okay, decent outside, but what the Ravens really need is somebody in the slot to play that nickel. If you get Cooper DeJean, you arguably get the best slot cornerback in that in the draft at that spot. He also offers special teams returns and things like that as well with Cooper DeJean.
He can play the outside. He's so versatile.
Yeah. Like Cooper DeJean does everything. He seems like the perfect Baltimore Ravens player. And this isn't necessarily shitting on Nate Wiggins. I just don't think Nate Wiggins was really a first-round talent. Now, who am I to assess cornerback play over the Baltimore Ravens? But when Cooper DeJean is there, he's largely considered the guy that's kind of left on the board now. there's a couple of guys who are like sat left on the ball, but Cooper DeJean should be picked in the next 5 picks in the second round.
Now, I wanted the Vikings to take Wiggins or Cooper DeJean, but then all of a sudden I was like, oh, Murphy might be there. And I'm a big fan of 3 technique D tackles, right? But I was really, when you were like Dallas Turner, I kind of like was trying not to get excited, right? And I was trying to temper because I was like, we just signed Van Inkel. We just signed Gennard. Are we really going to take another edge? And I wanted him, but I was like, okay, I'm going to prep because I think this is going to be a corner. And it wasn't. So like, and I would say with your pick of, them taking Wiggins, I would argue the Packers would have been a bad, except that is the most Gutekunst pick ever, and none of us should be shocked. So I'm not even chalking it up into a bad because they picked an offensive lineman none of us thought would go that high. So that was an honorable mention. But
it felt very much like Jordan Morgan being taken felt quite similar to Cole Strange, like when the Patriots picked Cole Strange, right? Where it's like, okay, I get it. Like but that's a very Packers type of offensive lineman. It's a very Patriots type. And it turns out Cole Strange is actually pretty decent, like not first round offensive.
No,
lineman,
I'll never forget. I told you like a week before the draft, I really like Cole Strange for the Vikings in the 3rd round. And then
yeah. So it felt like that kind of pick for the Packers, but the Packers are picking that need that I just like Cooper DeJean right there, the most Baltimore cornerback out there, offers you so much. I think they really missed an opportunity there. It's difficult to slay anybody at pick 30 in the NFL draft, but I think that's my bad because I know what your bad is going to be. I think.
Yeah, and I think you agree. And just didn't want to jump on the. Let's both do the same. My bad is Drake May. One, I already think Drake May is overrated, and he's not going to be as good as everybody thinks. I'm in, and I said it before him, but I'm in the camp of Phil Simms. There is way too much to fix with this kid. There is way too many. It is odd the last couple of years that I'm not saying Phil Simms copied me, but Phil Simms copied me the last 2 years with because I jumped out ahead. But and not only it's not even the player, it's you need so much help, and you sold it on a quarterback with a defensive head coach, with no protection, with no weapons, with like needing your defense. Your defense needs help. The only reason your defense is even semblance of good is because you've had one of the greatest defensive minds coaching that. And don't get me wrong, Mayo probably the same way with the defense.
Yeah.
But that they need so much fucking help. Can you, and maybe I'm missing somebody, but can you name one star on their team off the top of your head? Like true star.
On the offensive side of the ball.
Anywhere.
Yeah. Judon.
Yeah, okay. I can see Judon, but injury, age, things like
so it's it's like Judon Gonzalez, like the cornerback, but they both had injury problems coming.
I forgot about Gonzalez. I'll give you that.
I think on the defense, I think on the defensive side of the ball, they're fine. I guess you've got Ramondre Stevenson, a running back, like that kind of. He's got some juice.
Is that who you're putting on your billboard though? Like to sell tickets, like you know what I mean? And then but you instead of taking a haul, which you could have got from sounds like the Giants or the Vikings, you turn around and you pick a quarterback who, in my opinion, is the 6th best quarterback in the draft. And I literally heard a couple people have him at 7, up behind Spencer Rattler.
I wonder what the Giants would have given the Patriots. I wonder what they would have had to do for Daniel Jones to go one way and Drake May go the other.
At least 2 firsts, they're second and something else, right? To go back 3 at least.
Yeah, definitely. I just wonder if this sounds so ridiculous. I wonder if Daniel Jones is more suited to the kind of like Patriots situation right now.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Could you have said, I'll give you 2 firsts and Daniel Jones to move?
Yeah, to move out, right? Because then the Giants then are able to get over the fucking buyer's remorse that they've got on Daniel Jones and saying like Daniel Jones is our guy, like we've given them the contract. Daniel Jones is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Like he's definitely should be a starting quarterback. He's just if he's your starting quarterback, you're looking to move on.
Now,
Daniel Jones has been doing more with less. Like he's been trying to do shit without a semblance of an offensive team at all. So maybe if Daniel Jones goes to the Patriots where there's a decent defense, he's got a running game, and you give him Rome Odunze, who you pick at the Giants pick at 6 or whatever, then maybe you've got something there. And I think that would be a more interesting way to go. Whereas Drake May takes so much work. He's going to get sacked a fucking million times behind their offensive line. He's got no one to throw to. I know they're saying play Jacoby Brissett, but how long as a rookie head coach can you lose games with Jacoby Brissett while you've given up a 3rd round pick to get Drake May? Like, how long can you do that for?
And so I didn't think about this, but when you said it, it makes more sense for May to go to the Giants anyway, because Daboll, Josh Allen, that's a lot of comparisons you get. And again, I would feel better for Drake May because you're going to an offensive minded guy who did great things with Josh Allen. I like where your head was at though, because you take Daniel Jones, if it works out, great. If not, you're only on the hook for 1 more year. And he got 2 more years on his contract, but you're only on the hook for guaranteed money for 1 more year.
Well,
and you're still going to be drafting high, right? Like no matter. I'm also sure
that they could have asked the Giants to pay some of Daniel Jones's contract.
Right, but I'm saying 100%
sure that could have happened.
Right?
Yeah.
You get out of it easily if it doesn't work. Yeah. Whereas if you fuck up Drake May, you set your team back 5 years.
Yeah, and you've got Jacoby Brissett to play at the start of the. So they've got Jacoby Brissett to play at the start of the year because Daniel Jones isn't coming back at the start of the season. I think he's scheduled to miss the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season or something like that. So he misses that. You've got Jacoby Brissett to sit in that bit. And then Daniel Jones comes back. He can do, like, Daniel Jones has been playing with nothing in the Giants. So, like, and
he's better than Mac Jones.
Yeah, like Juke kids. Like quite smart by all accounts, like kind of fits the Patriots kind of vibe. I think that would make sense. And I think the Giants fans would be happier with Drake May. And as you say, you get Daboll and they've got Drew Lock. They've got Drew Lock in New York as well. So you start Drew Lock while Drake May's there and then you throw Drake May on. I think that makes sense. And then you could have taken, well, they could have had Malik. The Patriots could then have had Daniel Jones thrown to Malik Neighbors and then a 2nd round pick, then a 1st round pick next year, right? That makes sense to me.
And then they could have added another weapon in the 2nd round, like you're saying. Then they would have picked up more picks from the Giants, so they could have added 2 weapons. They could have wrapped Daniel Jones in a bunch of
tackles,
I like your thinking.
Everything. I think that would have made sense. I think it would make more sense than starting with Drake May. Like that's the kind of player that I think New England needs, and it's the kind of player. There's also this element of when you go play in New England, and we haven't really spoke about Drake May in this. We're speaking about massive hypotheticals right now, and we'll move on to Drake May, but. It's also the kind of player he's been dealing with the New York media fucking hating him. Daniel Jones, like the New York media have hated this guy and he's accepted it with nothing more than a smile, turned up to business every day. Like I like Daniel Jones as a quarterback. Would I want him to be my quarterback? No, but I like him as a person, as a leader. I think he's been doing a lot with utter shit. So then you send him to Boston where the media is also ridiculously harsh and expects greatness, and he knows how to handle that. He's a good face of the franchise, perfect rebuilding quarterback for me, and that's what I would have tried to get done if I was the Patriots.
I like it. My wheels are turning on how much talent they could have put around him, and even if he didn't work, then you get your quarterback later. They could have built that team up. I like your thinking.
Like the Patriots fucked this draft from the moment that they didn't pick up.
Every year, though,
Justin Fields. Yeah.
Every year we're going, the Patriots fuck the process up. Every single year we're talking about how they fuck up the process.
This is an understandable process. I think they've picked the wrong guy, but I don't think any of the guys are worth a third overall at that point. Like I understand the Vikings moving up for JJ McCarthy because it would have been the perfect pick. Like it would have been a good fit. Like that would have made sense to me. But everybody else, I'm like, JJ McCarthy isn't really saving your team. Michael Penix isn't really saving your team by themselves. Drake May, like we definitely think isn't. All the comparisons to Josh Allen, like I get it. You can see it. But the stuff that Drake May can't do
is the stuff that
it's totally different. Like the stuff that like Josh Allen's stuff was mental. Like Josh Allen's stuff was, I'm just going to try and squeeze this in that
And
spot,
footwork.
whatever. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, and footwork, yes. But Drake May has the footwork, but he doesn't have the arm talent that everybody says he has. He has poor accuracy. Like his accuracy, Josh Allen's 59% in his rookie year is shocking. 59% pass accuracy in his rookie year, not good. However, that's because of where he was trying to put the ball. But Drake May has that because he's just not accurate. Like he's making the right decision and missing the throw, which is why I think Drake May, which is why we think Drake May is probably the 6th quarterback. I have a difficult time saying that I would prefer Bo Nix over Drake May just because of the ceiling of Bo Nix and the potential ceiling of Drake
I would have
May.
rather had Bo Nix than Drake May. I have no problem saying it. I said it yesterday before the draft, but yeah.
I think it depends like what team.
I just think people shit on Bo Nix because they say he can't throw down the field, but he can if you watch. And he gets a lot of hate because of the offense he ran, but that's a different story.
Watch him at Auburn, and he's actually a playmaker. Like he actually has like weird playmaking abilities when he was in Auburn. It's the system that they run in Oregon, which is why he's a perfect pick for the Broncos. And the Broncos did really well to sit there and take Bo Nix. Again, the Raiders miss out on the quarterback's musical chairs. Like they would have been so pissed when Michael Penix gets taken. But as you say, the Patriots have that fuck the process again. There's so much that they need in that team, and they've basically created an environment where it might be impossible for their quarterback to succeed.
Well, speaking of Michael Penix, the Falcons are my ugly, and it was going to be my bad until I really thought about it, and it is ugly because one, at 8, after you just paid a quarterback in the offseason, 100, what is it? It's 130, but 110 of it's guaranteed, or 100 million is guaranteed over 3 years. You pick a guy who's going to turn 24 in about a week, little over. So he sits 24, 25, 26. He doesn't start till he's 27. And now you got to, the year after that, got to make a decision if you're going to pay a 28-year-old quarterback $50, $60 million a year, and you only get a rookie contract on the guy for a year or two. Doesn't make sense. And you're also saying by taking him that high, when you had the choice of any defensive player, and you go, and you could have got Odunze too.
Odunze, Brock Bowers, like you had.
What they're saying is, we believe Michael Penix is better than any quarterback we could draft in the next 3 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, so the actual pick itself, I don't have that much of an issue with. That's why I think on the grading side, I'm like, okay, I get it. I would have taken a defensive player there, but you can take other defensive players in the draft. Like, that's fine, whatever. I get it. Because you want to set up your organization for the next, like Arthur Blank came out and said, I don't know why the fuck Arthur Blank's giving that much of a shit about it. He's probably not going to be owning the team. He's probably going to have to hand over the running of the team when fucking Michael Penix actually plays his first down.
You can say it, he might be dead. Like
he might be dead. Like he genuinely might be dead by the time. Yeah, he could be dead by the time Michael Penix plays his first down of football, right? But that shows a very selfless owner to me. Like I get building it after seeing what happened with Jordan Love and the way that the Packers do it. If it was
Jordan Love was 20.
Yeah. For example, if the Vikings still had Kirk Cousins and they made this pick, I would get it. I would be like, okay, I understand that. 2 more years. Because realistically, I think what most people are expecting is if Michael Penix has it, it'll be 2 years of Kirk Cousins. You'll eat the dead cap on his 3rd year, and then it's all the way to Michael Penix.
You don't even talk to Cousins, which makes it a problem because his agent says nicely shocked, but we know it was pissed. And you take the most NFL-ready quarterback in this draft and go, we're going to sit you for fucking 3 years. Now, if they would have taken J.J. McCarthy, that would have made sense. He is young. I get that. Like,
similar type of ball to Kirk Cousins.
If they would have got Drake May, that makes so much sense. But this pick does not make sense. And I know people are going to go, it worked out for the Packers when they did it twice. It worked out when they did Aaron Rodgers. I mean, okay, kind of. but you didn't give Brett Favre any help to win that Super Bowl that he could have won, given more help, because they made it to the NFC Championship game his last year in Green Bay, so that could have helped. And then with Rodgers, you didn't give him any help to win. So yes, it worked out now, but did you pass up a chance at winning another ring? And isn't that what the NFL is about? It's not about being relevant for a super amount of years. It's about winning. You gave Kirk Cousins zero help to go out, and you know you have a shot at this division, but now is that what we're playing for? Because at this point, I feel like the Falcons are just hoping to make the playoffs while they have Kirk Cousins. And if you're Kirk Cousins, you're pissed off because you could have stayed with Minnesota with a team you've already built with, right? Knowing this, that they're going to draft and replace you. Same thing now in Atlanta, but with guys you've never played with. And I would say little less talent, but that could be me being a homer, whatever. I would say the coaching is way better in Minnesota when it comes to the quarterback. And now you got Michael Penix, who can't be fucking happy because he's like, who the fuck wants to go to Atlanta and sit for 3 years? And then this was brought up today, and I never thought about it. Florio might have said it. I've watched so many people or listened to so many people today. Mm-hmm. He's 24. Kyle Pitts, Drake London. All these guys are his age. Are they all going to hang out, become friends, and want him to start, like him better in training camp? Where does that put them with Kirk Cousins? He has a no-trade clause. What are you going to do? And he's going to want every dime of what you owe him. So even if you get rid of him early, you're going to take $100 million cap hit. Like, I just – this whole thing doesn't make any sense to me. They could have put a Roma Dunze on that offense, and now Drake London becomes – your third option. Is he not the best? Like, I know I give him shit, but is he not like the best third option you can think of?
He's not even like a third option at that point, is he? His role just completely changes into the possession down wide receiver, right?
He becomes Keenan Allen.
Yeah, exactly. He then says, right, you're on most routes, you are not running further than 15 yards. Like, you are running. You are never going further down the field than 15 yards because Roma Dunze is down there. You're lining up against linebackers. Drake London lining up against linebackers there would be great. And it frees Kyle Pitts as well. So what makes this pick so ugly? So I think the age thing might be a little overblown. Like, I totally get
where the age thing bothers me is that you're trying to give him a new contract, his second contract at 28.
Yeah, and you're trying to give him his second contract at 28 where he's going to want the bag, right? Because that's probably going to be not his last contract, but
it's when you're hitting his big one.
Second contract, that's his big one, right? Because if he hits his second contract, then he's going to be 31. Like when
Joe Platt's already saying he should sit out the fucking year and re-enter the draft because you're costing him tons of money.
Yeah, so that's why it's the ugly, right? Like, the other picks are bad. This is not necessarily a bad pick, but it turns the whole organization ugly. It turns what has been a very positive offseason, in my opinion, for the Falcons. Like, whether you think they're going to go to the NFC Championship game, whether you think whatever or not on the back of what they've done, is overwhelmingly positive around the Falcons right now. Like, they've got their star quarterback, they've got their exciting wide receivers, and you could have fixed the defense, which needs a little bit of help. Like that. It's needed help for years.
Top defensive end.
I was giving their defense a lot of credit during the season. I was like, look, this is a better defense than the stats suggest. Like, they're better than previous Falcons defenses, but they still need a pass rush. Or you get Roma Dunze, who arguably in any other draft would be the number one wide receiver in most other drafts, right?
And everybody's assuming they're going to win the South. Are they? Because I still right now have Tampa Bay as the favorite. Now, that doesn't mean not by a ton, not by a but I still have Tampa as the leader in that division because, one, I've never seen Kirk play in Atlanta. Two, he's coming off an Achilles, and then you draft a guy who's got a knee problem and 2 shoulder issues.
The other part of this,
keep going. They're missing the benefit of having a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal. They're missing out on that by doing it this way.
Yeah, the other part of this is, what did they get offered from the Raiders? Because if they're doing their due diligence, right, they said, right? Who's going to be the team that's probably going to be picking Michael Penix if we don't?
Minnesota might have called him.
Well, Minnesota sounded like they were calling everybody,
right?
Like not necessarily being serious with the call, but they sound like the only serious call they made was the Patriots, and thank fuck for Minnesota that they got
them. And Philly call everybody about every player just to see.
Yeah, definitely. So, what the fuck could have possibly been given by the Raiders or the Broncos to jump Minnesota to either take JJ McCarthy or go get Michael Penix, who they might have wanted as well? Like, what the fuck was offered to drop down barely far enough and still would have been able to pick the best defensive player on the board? That's what's so crazy. If they move back to the Raiders, they still get the best defensive player. Like, what is that?
And in round 2, they could have took Spencer Rattler, which would have made a ton of sense to me to sit behind Kirk Cousins, right? Like, you don't love it, but I've been beating the table. I think the Cowboys should draft him in the 2nd round to put pressure on Dak. Like, so I just don't understand that the process is fucked. It fucks a lot of the players, and you're going to have inner turmoil. And again, you miss out on the chance to have a rookie quarterback. Look at what the Texans are doing with a rookie contract. The Texans are the epitome. The 49ers, look at the stud defense they have because they have Brock fucking Purdy. Like, just blows my mind.
It's like the Packers have to win it this year.
Because Jordan's about to get paid.
Yes, like if you do it this way, which I'm okay with. Like, I'm okay with doing it this way. You only get 2 years of like actually playing him on a rookie deal. Like you and
3, but yeah. Oh, you mean Penix?
No, well, if he sits 3, or did Jordan?
No, you're talking Penix. I was talking Jordan Love because he took that cheap contract going extension.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. But most of the time, you're only getting 2 years to watch this guy show himself. And we all know when a quarterback hits his 5th year option, he is going to hold you over a fucking barrel to pay the guy because somebody will, right?
You have to pay him after year 3.
Yeah, you'll have to pay him after year 3, not knowing what he'll get. And if his agent's smart, he'll only put 3 more years on the contract as well on that extension to make sure you only get 3 years of the guy on a relatively cheap deal. So Jordan Love, the Packers have to kind of win this year because Jordan Love is shit and the process hasn't worked either.
Yeah, the only thing that they got lucky is they signed him to that extension before he ever started. So the Packers actually got 2 more years with Love before they have to do something. But I'm with you. If he plays well this year, they have to pay him.
All their wide receivers are coming up as well. So everybody's like, oh, this Packers young team and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, they're all coming up at the same time. Like everybody. It's what's happened with the Cowboys, right? Like everybody is coming for the bag at the exact same time. Like this is what happens.
Yeah, I just messaged you yesterday. Really well. Like all the guys up for it in Dallas are going to want top of the market too, so it's becoming an issue.
This is what happens when you draft really well, right? And you keep your players. Especially when you're like big market teams. Like I know Green Bay isn't a big market team, but the Packers are one of the most supported teams in the league. And if they're playing well, then they're all over the media. So all of their young players get the best hype, right? The Falcons are going to be the fucking same. If Penix comes out and plays really well, he's going to expect the biggest bag at the age of 28 because Atlanta is a big market city where football. And the other thing that makes this ugly and doesn't make any fucking sense is that Michael Penix is left-handed. So if you bring in your left-handed quarterback, it completely changes how the offensive line have to play.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, he's not actually that good a backup for Kirk Cousins either. Like, everybody's like, oh, well, he plays like Kirk Cousins. Yes, he plays like Kirk Cousins, but he's left-handed. Like, Michael Penix had to go somewhere to start this year. The Raiders was the perfect fit. And the Falcons made a real fuck up of it. And it's why everybody was so surprised. And the process isn't necessarily horrific. It's also not telling Kirk. Like, makes it really ugly. Not like
I feel like they have 2 pissed off quarterbacks right now too.
Yeah, they've got 2 fuming quarterbacks, and they're now the talk of. You don't want to be the talk of NFL media, by the way. Coming from a Cowboys fan, like you don't want your team to be the talk of the NFL media. Like it's not what you want, all the way up, because it inflicts it affects decisions. Like it really does.
If they start 1-4 like the Vikings did last year before they turned it around, now is Atlanta screaming for Penix like all the fans?
Yeah, exactly. Dysfunctional organizations do dysfunctional things.
Who is your ugly, Maddie?
Oh, it's Michael Penix. There isn't an ugly. Like you can't.
Okay.
Like I can't think of anything worse than that. Like maybe the Bills, like it's a bit ugly, like trading out when you're in such desperate need of a wide receiver. Like let's talk about this because I'd say this is more of a bad, but rather than a because I understand the process of moving back.
No, I'm with you because my honorable mention for the good would have been the Kansas City Chiefs making my honorable mention for the Bills. You gave up 2 stud receivers by trading back too. But I don't have a problem with the second trade back. I have a problem that you traded with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I weirdly think that the Panthers is a bit of an ugly one coming up. Like the Panthers coming up, it's like you need so much and you have so few picks. Like, what are you doing? Like, why?
You're just trying to help Bryce Young any way you can.
Yeah, one more player back. I do get it. It's less ugly than the Bills trading back with the Chiefs. So let's break that down. The Bills, the reason that they haven't made a Super Bowl in the Josh Allen era, and everybody's like, oh, this Bills team, they're amazing. Just a reminder, the Bills, like this Bills dynasty, haven't even made it to the fucking Super Bowl since Josh Allen's been there. And there's one reason for that, and it's the Kansas City fucking Chiefs, right? So why, in what universe are you trading with the Chiefs who have the exact same need as you? Like, you know that the Chiefs are going to take a wide receiver, so why would you do anything to help them? Like, I get, oh, well, we need the picks. Like, we're not going to be bitter and we'll take those picks. But you didn't even really get anything for him. Like, you switched the 6th and the 5th. Like, I didn't get it. I didn't get that. And if they devalue the wide receiver, then that's fine. Trading to the Chiefs is beyond me.
So, and another thing is, don't get me wrong. I'm just looking at something here. Don't get me wrong. I am not comparing the 2 players as in how good they are right now, but stylistically, you just let them get Tyreek Hill back. You just let them get a guy who is so fast that can take the top off of defense, who can catch the ball. And he can play he can kick return, he can punt return, he can play gunner on special teams. You just gave them a guy who opens up every other receiving spot on the team. Hollywood Brown is in that locker room dancing right now that they picked. Travis Kelce's got to be so happy. You know what I mean? Like, and then at some point they're going to get Rashid Rice back. And he hasn't even been suspended yet, but at some point he's going to get suspended. They'll get him back.
He'll get 4 games.
That's my guess. But, and fucking you trade with the team who is your arch rival. Like, it ain't even your division. This is your arch rival. This is the Patriots and the Colts back with Tom Brady and fucking Peyton Manning. They would never do a deal with each other. Yeah. Never.
Yeah, it's the thought of, so everybody plays like 2 high safety against the Chiefs pretty much all of the time, but now this forces you to play 2 high. But towards the end of the season, people were kind of like, okay, we can stop doing 2 high safety because they can't burn us like they used to. Now Xavier Worthy forces you to play 2 high again. But now the Chiefs know how to play against 2 high. Like, they've worked it out. They know how to play against 2 high. And the answer is they've got Isaiah Pacheco at running back, who's one of the best young running backs in the league. Top 10, easy.
He doesn't get the credit, but I agree with you.
No. Yeah, definitely. Perfect. Like, also perfect running back for the Chiefs as well, because he's like that hard yards guy. He's brilliant.
I always say, remember, all year I said he runs like he's angry at the ground. Like,
yeah. Travis Kelce, who's one of the best tight ends of all time. Maybe the best. We don't like to say the best until they finish playing.
You can argue whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you've got Rashid Rice, who runs lovely routes. Like, Rashid Rice is a really nice route runner. And you've got Hollywood Brown, who's an experienced wide receiver who can do the same. And then you've got all the gadget players that they fucking pick up as well.
Hollywood's never played with a super accurate quarterback before either, right? And now he is. Like, so Hollywood I think is going to change, because Patrick Mahomes is so fucking good, right? And he's like Rodgers. He makes everybody better around him. He's like Brady and those guys. You just helped them win another Super Bowl, I think. I literally think you might have just helped them win another. Maybe not this year, maybe this year, but
it's also not necessarily because we're like, oh my God, Xavier Worthy is fucking incredible. But like, it's just the player fit is like the perfect fit.
He's incredible for the Chiefs. Yes.
Yeah. He does.
He's
like
the replacement
exactly
of
the right
Tyreek
thing.
Hill.
Yeah, he does exactly the right thing for them. And look, the teams afterwards, like, they might have traded for, like, who was afterwards? So like the Cowboys come after, they might have gone back to 32 because they probably could have got one of the guys that they wanted at 32. Like, that's fine, but it's the messaging that it's like the Ravens would never trade back with the Chiefs.
You could have maybe San Francisco moves up, and then you can trade again back with Carolina again. Like San Francisco wants another receiver because it looks like they're going to lose either Ayuk or Debo at some point.
Yeah, like, and Xavier Worthy would have been a really good fit for them as well. That's another.
Maybe they
I thought was a bit strange.
Who knows how much they love him, but maybe they even jump up for the guy they picked, Ricky Pulsa.
Yeah,
maybe
I think it's just a massive messaging thing, and it's a massive messaging thing around the whole organization of the Bills. Like, it's
And what are you saying to Josh Allen? Good luck. We're going to make you carry the team this year.
Well, I mean, they've still got they've got the first pick. Like, it's not necessarily the fact that they gave up like Xavier Worthy and they're both called Xavier Worthy and Xavier Legette, right? I was like, I've just said Xavier. That can't say Xavier. But it's not even the fact that they give that up, it's the who you give it up to, right? They could have wanted Adonai Mitchell the whole time. Like, they could be like, I'm happy with all three of these guys, like Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell, and Xavier.
I have a weird feeling they're going to trade out of that pick too.
Just, yeah. The Bills have way more holes than anybody thinks anyway. I think the Bills might be in a rebuild, to be honest.
Cardinals are going to own the second day, though, because they have 5 more fucking picks tonight. So before we get out of here, Maddie, let's talk about something that's never happened in NFL history, besides 23 offensive players going. 6 quarterbacks went in the top 12. So I want to just little fun game with you. No right or wrong answer. We won't know for years. Miss rate on quarterbacks is 54%. So let's just call it 50-50, right?
Mm-hmm.
What 3 quarterbacks bust out of these 6?
Bust out as in their busts, or bust out?
They're not great. Like, they're not going to be considered like, oh, we shouldn't have took them in the top 12. Maybe they're good average quarterbacks, but because 3 of them, it says, are going to be really good, just numbers, Yeah. And 3 aren't. Which 3 do we think aren't going to be?
Okay.
You want me to go first because I already thought about this, or do you want it?
I think I've got it. I've got it. It's Drake May, number 1. Like, I think Drake May is going to flame out of the league. 1, because of where they've put him. Like, the situation they've put him in is awful. Correct. They don't give him the time to develop. I think Michael Penix as well will be one of the others, because he has to sit for so fucking long, doesn't get the opportunity to come in. And then it's between Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy's in a better spot in Minnesota, so Bo Nix.
I think JJ McCarthy becomes the best quarterback out of the draft, even if he's not the most talented, because of where he is and who he's with. And I think coaching matters. So for me, it's Drake May, Michael Penix, and I think Williams. I think Caleb Williams are the 3 that end up fading out. And I think Bo Nix shocks the world. Because I think he is Drew Brees 2.0 with the perfect coach for him.
I felt really sorry for Jaden Daniels when I woke up this morning going to the Commanders, because he has to deal with the quarterback curse in Washington, which might be okay now that Schneider's gone. But they've basically selected RG the 4th, right? They've basically selected RG4, not RG3, RG4, right? Like, Heisman guy who runs around, and all of that.
I think he's the best quarterback in the draft, so I think
I do
figure it out.
I don't trust them to keep him healthy, and he takes too many massive shots, and he plays in a defensive division. Like, the defenses in that division he plays 2 games against the Eagles every year, for example, and the Eagles linebacker call will fucking knock your head off.
NFL teams stop hiring defensive head coaches.
23 offensive players in the draft. Like, see where the league is going, right? But great defensive coaching. Hire the best defensive fucking coordinators.
Brian Flores ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Pay big money for your defensive coordinator. Pay absolutely astronomical, because you don't have to pay your offensive coordinator anything if you've got an offensive head coach, and you know that your offensive coordinator is staying the whole time. Once you've got a defensive coordinator that you like, pay them big money. We're not saying that defense has gone out the league. It's just the way that teams have to operate now with the rule changes, like it has to be an offensive guy.
You guys have the perfect defensive coordinator right now too. Mike Zimmer is a great defensive mind, runs a great defense, and will never get a head coaching job again.
And has had head coaching experience. I think having head coaching experience is really important, especially when Mike McCarthy doesn't know how to fucking control the clock or anything like that. So
and Zimmer was always good at clock management, so maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
That was one of Zimmer's strengths. Like being a nice guy was not Zimmer's strength, but managing the game. We won some of our games because Zimmer knew how to manage fucking games. Like so, but Mike Zimmer, every stop he's been in, has made their defenses way better. I think that's why I had like your offensive line scares me, but other than that, like that's why I had the All Texas Super Bowl in our way too early picks.
I think our offensive line will be fine by the end of the draft. I think that I trust the Cowboys with offensive line. Sorry, I just trust them. Like they've always developed good offensive linemen. Like we have the best rate of drafting and developing offensive linemen in the league, so I'm happy with it.
And maybe they're waiting on some compensatory pick stuff too. People forget we're going to get a second wave of signing Monday after 4 p.m. Eastern because that's when the compensatory picks no longer get affected.
Yeah, the other part of this is, do you want to do a quick bit on who's left to draft? Like,
sure.
What are we expecting in the second and third round today? Who are you watching coming off the board? Like kind of first, or who do you think's the best pick, like about to come off the board? Because I've still got Jackson Powers Johnson there. I've still got Zach Fraser there, who in my opinion are the two best interior offensive linemen in the draft. Just waiting to be taken there. If I'm the Cowboys, I'm calling to see how to move up to get to whatever spot that is. To draft one of those guys. Obviously Cooper DeJean is sat there.
That's my guy.
As well.
That's the guy I think is the best still out there. But I like that Kool-Aid still out there. I like Mitchell still out there. I mean, there is a deep board of guys, and that's not even taking into account that there's still a ton of defensive players on the board. I mean, there's so many corners left. Granted, the Vikings do not have a pick tonight, but I am excited to watch how all of these fall off the board.
Do you guys not have a single pick tonight? Oh, right. Okay.
We didn't have a pick on day 2 going into yesterday.
Yeah.
We gave up a 3. So the Lions get our 3. We get their 4. That was from the TJ Hawkinson trade. And we gave up the 2 to get the first pick, the 23rd pick with the Texans. So we had 0 picks going into tonight anyway.
All right. Yeah. That's fun for you being able to just watch.
Wildly, they still have 6 picks left.
They're just all at the end. See, this is why you get aggressive.
2 7s. Yeah.
Knowing you guys, you'll pull them all together and move into the third round at some point. Most importantly, everybody, by the way, TJ Tampa is on the board, who is like my sweetheart cornerback. Hey, I think TJ Tampa is going to be great.
When we were talking about Kansas City, you forgot to talk about their weapon from Wales too.
I said all the gadget players that they've signed is where I was going to go. I am upset that Xavier Worthy might have lessened Louis Rees-Zammett's chances of seeing the field in a wide receiver role this year.
So according to Mel Kiper's big board, and it's Mel Kiper, so whatever, right? You're still have a really good shot at getting Jackson Power Johnson as a.
I can't believe he'd fall that.
Cowboy.
I honestly can't believe he'd fall that far. Like no matter wherever that pick is, I want the Cowboys to move up to it and go get Jackson Powers Johnson or Zach Fraser, whichever one of those guys gets picked first. I want the next pick so that I can go get the other one. Is where I'm at. And then I think that, like, if you look at the Cowboys offensive line, then you're like, okay, like the guy that we took last night, Guyton, plays left tackle. Tyler Smith plays left guard. Center is Jackson Powers Johnson. Right guard is Zach Martin, and right tackle is Steele. I'm okay with that. Like I'm fine.
And Blake Fisher's still out there, and you can move him into guard easily too. Blake Fisher's out there, so there's guys still. DeJean is the guy I can't believe is still on the board. Like, I really just can't believe he is still.
Yeah, Cooper DeJean is the guy there, right? Like he's the guy. Do you know if you still need secondary help? And I wouldn't be surprised if they trade with the Bills. I know they got secondary help last night. The Eagles. The Eagles could do with all kinds of secondary help, and they're the kind of team that'll make that fucking work, and they'll come away with probably the two best cornerbacks on the fucking board. Like, that's the most Eagles way to do anything, right? I hate them. Honestly, Jay, they make my blood fucking boil. And it's like in a both appreciation and just pure hatred way. It's really upsetting. I wish they weren't as good as they were. I have to keep on giving them props in a non-biased way.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who Atlanta takes, too.
Well, it has to. Like, they better fucking like another court. They get Spencer Rattler in the second round.
They're like, so we're already planning for after fucking Michael Penix's career, and we drafted Spencer Rattler.
Basically, Penix is going to hit the field on a Zimmer frame already, so we may as well like have Spencer Rattler to back him up too, and then we're relevant for the next 15 years. We're not fucking winning anything, but at least we're relevant.
Yeah, Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins have to be so pissed off right now.
I'd be fuming if I was either one of them.
I feel so bad for Michael Penix though, because your draft day kind of got shit on.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be the best day of your life, and
like you're dead happy. Like he seemed dead happy when he came out, right?
But which he wanted to be a Raider. You know he wanted to be a Raider.
The Raiders were the perfect fit for it. The Broncos as well. Like with Michael Penix's deep ball, by the way, imagine him throwing that in like mile high.
Oh shit!
Like that thing is flying. That is sailing. So yeah. I don't get it. Outside of the Minnesota Vikings, final thing before we go. Outside of the Minnesota Vikings, best pick in the draft.
Okay. As much as I would have went a different route, but I think what the fucking Bears did was also really good. I would have went with a different quarterback, but I can't argue that they took Caleb Williams and then went up and got Odunze with the defense they already have. They have Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Like, I think the Bears got a lot better because no matter what happens, Caleb Williams is a gazillion times better than Justin Fields.
Yeah. Yeah. And they put him in a much better position to win, like right out of the gate. I think so as well. The best pick for me, like the best individual pick for me, is unfortunately Kenyon Mitchell to the Philadelphia Eagles. It's probably the best overall pick for me. They perfectly fill their need at cornerback with the best cornerback on the board, and they take him.
If you want me to be boring, I would say that Joe Alt to the Chargers was a great fucking pick just because I know what they want to do.
Yeah, Joe Alt as well. And Brock, just a quick shout out to the Raiders for not fucking panicking.
I was just gonna say Brock Bowers too. Yeah.
You missed out, but at least like Aiden O'Connell is okay. Like Aiden O'Connell showed a bit of stuff last year.
Maybe they Spencer Rattler it in the second round too, you know.
Yeah, that's what I would do. That's what I would do if I was them. But also they didn't get freaked out because they picked Mayer last year. They gone, right, we'll just run two tight end set because Brock Powers and Mayer are two completely different types of tight ends. Like Mayer will do the blocking, Brock Powers will do the receiving, and they can both do a little bit of the other one as well. So there's plenty of stuff to do. Two tight end sets, Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. What more can you want?
I said this to you last night. People can say what they want because of how his life turned out or whatever, but he was amazing. And Brock Bowers is a better Aaron Hernandez minus killing people. Like Aaron Hernandez was on his way to start. People don't realize Aaron Hernandez got paid from the Patriots before Rob Gronkowski. That's how much they loved Aaron Hernandez. So, and he plays H-back. So like you can put Brock Bowers back as a fullback. You can swing him out as a fucking receiver. You can play him at tight end.
It also fits Vegas perfectly. Because that's the other thing. They're still like, it's not like the LA teams who are struggling to like fill their stadiums with home fans, but they're still trying to hit roots in Vegas, right? So you need to make something that's watchable. You're in a city where it's the greatest show, like every night somewhere is the greatest show going. So
and
you
you
need
have
to
to
make
be
your place the
careful.
greatest show on turf.
Las Vegas showed you got to be careful because of the city itself to not draft knuckleheads, right? Like,
yeah,
we already saw what happened with Ruggs, right? That was bad. Like, there is so much to do in Vegas, like gambling, drinking,
yes.
all that stuff.
You know what?
You have
Never thought about this, but Pittsburgh can draft fucking assholes. Like, Pittsburgh have got more locker room problems.
Green Bay could if they wanted to too, because nowhere to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. But Pittsburgh can, like, because of the style of the city. Never been to Pittsburgh myself, but the style of the city, like, there's shit to do. Like, there's a massive, like, UPenn is there, so they can go blow some smoke. But the actual vibe of the city is like, don't be a fucking dick, right? Whereas Vegas, like, everybody, blue collar city, where, like, people will call your shit out if you're being a prick, right? But in Vegas, like, the NFL players aren't even the richest fucking guys there, like, on the night and stuff like that. Like, they're not even the richest sports stars in Vegas, like most nights out in Vegas. So, yeah, never thought about that. So they've got to make sure that they're drafting good people, and they've missed out. The Raiders have not. They should have gone up and got their quarterback. Nobody was expecting the Falcons to take Penix, so I do feel a bit sorry for them. The way people chastising them today.
Nobody was really willing to trade their picks until the Jets either.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the Falcons seem to just have fallen in love with Penix. So, sorry, I feel sorry for the Raiders in not getting the quarterback, really. Like, and they did a good job coming away with Brock Bowers.
I don't mind the Raiders at all, right? Like, I always loved the Raiders uniforms, the Al Davis just win baby growing up. I would have loved to see Michael Penix there, because you know how highly I think of Michael Penix as a quarterback. So, I would have really enjoyed watching him play, and he would have had Devontae Adams. And if that was good, maybe Adams restructures next year, because he's not going to give up money, but he has to do something, because his shit is astronomical on the cap next year. But without a quarterback, I don't think he wants to stay. So I think they end up having to get rid of him. Now, if he had a year with Michael Penix and he was like, oh, this dude can fucking play, I'm going to stay here with him, that might have helped too. I feel so bad for Michael Penix. Like, I wanted to see him somewhere where he could thrive, as long as it wasn't in my division. You know what I mean? And in the AFC would have been perfect. Like, I already told you, I would have been ecstatic with Michael Penix at 11. I wanted McCarthy, but I would have been really cool with Penix at 11. So I feel so bad for Michael Penix, but good for Bo Nix. Good for Bo Nix, because he's with the perfect coach.
Yeah, he's gone to. Weirdly, I think most of the quarterbacks outside of Drake May have all gone to the perfect spot.
Caleb Williams, I feel like you're number one overall, and yes, they have it set up around you, but I feel bad because you got a shit head coach. You really do. You got a shit defensive head coach.
Yeah, I think luckily for Caleb Williams, though, I do think Eberflus is on his last chance, right? Like, it's not like they've just hired. It's not like when Fields was there and they just fucking hired the guy. Like, like, basically, like, if it doesn't work this year, they're getting rid of him, and they should.
And they could end up with Johnson from Detroit. They could end up with what's his name from the Texans. I forget that fucking dude's name all the time.
Yeah, Skronik? No, Bobby Slowick.
Like, so there's some good offensive coordinators out there too.
Vrabel.
Yeah. And if you are going to bring in a defensive guy, that's the guy to bring in, right? Like, Vrabel, because he's more of a head coach than a coordinator. Like, I don't think he's wanting to call defensive plays, and
he's in like the Harbaugh mold, right?
I'm trying to bring in, though, if I got a guy like Caleb Williams who's got all this talent, but I don't know what to think of him, I'm bringing in the best offensive mind I can find for my next head coach.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, 100%. So, I the thing I think about Caleb Williams is, one, Chicago is a good city for him. Like, can be his big personality. I think in Chicago, like, he'll get called out in the media.
That big, like, I think he gets some bad heat.
Caleb Williams gets some bad heat for just being a normal. I texted you yesterday. I was like, this is what an actual Gen Z this is the first Gen Z quarterback.
Everybody my age is taking shots at him. Like, he paints his nails and he has a pink cell phone. Dickheads, we all wore pink in the 90s. Every guy who's my age is going to have to admit they wore pink because it was the thing on 50 different shades of pink too, right? Like, and then all the goth kids I grew up painted their nails black. What's the fucking difference? Like, I just, people, they get so caught up in all this dumb bullshit, and I don't get it.
Yeah. And I think Chicago is like a big enough city where things are so like stuff's going on that could go by the wayside. He could walk down the street in Chicago.
It's a very liberal city too, so like you won't hear as much craziness as you will at other places. It's just some of that shit I don't understand, but that's just me.
Yeah, and the other part of this is if Caleb Williams is even half the player that people seem to think he is, he could be the greatest Bears quarterback of all time. Like within the first 3 fucking years, like he could be.
I told you with Caleb Williams, it was the same thing I had with CJ Stroud. I don't know what to think coming out of the draft. Now, CJ proved to me he's amazing. And it just with Caleb, I was like, you got all this talent. I know you can play football, but I've watched you against Notre Dame. I watched you not be able to get Jordan Addison the football 2 years ago. Like, very weird to me. You could not beat out Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma. Like, there was weird shit that like makes me second guess, but I watch him and I just don't know. I just don't know.
It's just his highlight reel for me. When people say he's Patrick Mahomes, I'm like, okay, setting the bar too high. I think if Caleb Williams is a bust, it's because people have set the bar too high for him. Like, I think the
Bears fuck.
All the Bears fuck it. Yeah, all the Bears do some bear shit, and there's a reason that they haven't had a quarterback throw for over 4,000 yards in a.
And poor Sam Darnold.
Season. Yeah,
I'm not even sure he's going to start for the Vikings this year.
I should. He really.
I don't know.
Should.
I was listening to I was listening to O'Connell talk last night. I'm not sure that he's starting for. I agree with you. I want him to sit the whole year, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. So I kind of feel bad for Sam Darnold.
The Vikings should really look to trade Sam Darnold at that point. And
I actually thought let's play him for 2 or 3 games, show that he can play, and see if we can get like a 3rd round pick from him from a team who's gets an injury.
Who's quarterbacking for the Raiders? Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew.
I forgot about Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew, they're not that bad at quarterback. Gardner Minshew does not get the respect. Gardner Minshew is a starting NFL quarterback, and I don't know why people don't see it.
Gardner Minshew's Baker Mayfield, right? Like, Baker Mayfield's probably a little bit better.
He's better than Derek Carr.
He's better than Derek Carr. He's better than who else is starting NFL? Do you know what? I'd prefer him over Will Levis. Like, I know people like Will Levis, but
Levis is young, but I agree.
Yeah. Like, Gardner Minshew deserves a starting job in the NFL.
It's not that I would say you do this, but is Tua that much better than Gardner Minshew? Is he?
I was surprised when the Dolphins gave Tua his extension, considering Michael Penix was on the board. I thought they'd wait to see if Michael Penix fell to them, and then.
I like Tua. Tua's definitely a starting quarterback too, but like Gardner Minshew doesn't get any respect, and it's just it's so crazy to me. But Detroit's going to start seeing some problems because they are going to have to back the Brinks truck up to Goff. The Packers are going to have to back the Brinks truck up to Love. So this is actually an opening for the Bears and the Vikings to make a move in that division under rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, people just don't give the Vikings the credit they deserve either. By the way, just putting that out there.
I like it.
I know you're a homer. And everything, but like, it's fucking. I don't get how people don't see it.
You know as much as anybody. I will hit you up and go, this is what I think. Am I being a homer?
Yeah.
Like, because I need to know from you, like, am I right or am I being a fuck? Because I don't want to be a homer, but you just can't help yourself sometimes, right? So I have to hit you up and go, like, am I crazy here or is this like really what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I think you should start Sam Darnold.
I don't even have picks, and I'm excited for tonight.
I want the Cowboys to make sure if the Cowboys come away with a center, I'll be happy.
The first 10 picks were so excruciating for me last night. Like, excruciating.
I felt sorry for you, man. I was feeling it for you.
I cheered just as hard when the Patriots drafted Drake May as I did when the Vikings drafted JJ.
That was that. I text you after they drafted Drake May. I was like, you can relax now, because I think JJ McCarthy, Michael Penix, like, if anybody was going to be taken, it would be one of those two. Turned out it was Michael Penix.
And when Atlanta said
like,
they
okay,
were taking
cool.
a quarter, when Adam Schefter said Atlanta's taking a quarterback, there's no way I thought it was Penix. And then you texted me and said Rappaport said it's Penix. And I was like, who? Ian knows what he's talking about. So I felt better.
Yeah, it was a good draft. It was a good draft. I feel like we're holding our viewers on a little long.
Yeah. All right. I'm so excited about yesterday. I could go on talking for another 5 hours just about the Vikings. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for watching. I'm sure we'll be back next week to go over what happened with the draft and everything like that. But we wanted to hit you with some good, bad, and some ugly because it was a wild first round. And I hope your team gets whoever you want them to. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.